Welcome to today's Explainer. We've got a truly fascinating case study lined up for you today. We're going to be looking at the total anatomy of a business failure. Specifically, we'll see how a simple, highly trusted village milk delivery operation slowly mutated into a completely dangerous criminal enterprise. It is a textbook look at how the pursuit of endless profit can literally dismantle a reliable livelihood from the inside out.
Okay, let's dive right into this. The central question we really need to explore today is, what exactly happens when a beloved, seemingly honest business goes toxic? How does greed cause a totally sustainable operation to rot right down to its core? To understand this, we're going to break down the story of Mansuk. He was a local milkman who had absolutely cornered the market in his village, but he let his desire for wealth destroy every single thing he built.
Section 1. The Honest Milkman Facade.
There is just an incredible, stark contrast here. On one side, you have Mansuk's public image. His customers, like a local woman named Sunita, absolutely loved the guy. And why wouldn't they? He sold the absolute cheapest milk in the village, he was always punctual, and he rode around on this broken-down bicycle that was constantly getting flat tires. The villagers literally praised him as this honest, poor, hardworking guy. But then, consider the private reality. Mansuk was actually secretly wealthy, he was actively adulterating the milk, and every single thing he did was completely calculated. The dramatic irony here is just unbelievable. He put on this whole public act of suffering with a broken bicycle specifically to look poor, all while privately hoarding cash that was generated completely from fraud.
His simple, punctual service, well, that wasn't just good customer service, it was a highly deliberate shield against suspicion. There's a great detail where his own wife asked why he didn't just buy a motorbike. He explicitly told her that if he rode a motorbike, the villagers would start wondering where a poor milkman got so much money. That broken bicycle was essentially a strategic business expense, or actually a strategic lack of expense, just to maintain his cover.
Section 2. The Starch Compromise.
So Mansuk was actively engaged in adulteration. He was secretly mixing starch into his fresh milk just to stretch the volume of his product. But you know what's really fascinating about his internal operations? His incredibly strict quality control for his own family. He absolutely demanded that his wife keep the pure milk totally separate for their own household use, while he took the fake, starch-diluted milk out to sell to all of his quote-unquote loyal village customers.
And this is exactly where we start to see the incredible hubris of our subject. Mansuk would actually laugh to himself about his deceit. He genuinely believed that cheating his loyal customers, maintaining this whole fake persona, and hoarding cash made him a brilliant entrepreneur. He basically equated fraudulent shortcuts with good business acumen, and he actually said, "I actually know how to run a business." But as you're going to see, a business built on a rotten foundation just cannot withstand any real pressure.
Section 3. Partnering with criminals. Let's move along and see how this builds, because you can really track his rapid operational escalation right here. He went from step 1, managing a clean product, to step 2, using starch to stretch those profit margins. But then, while he was getting his constantly broken bicycle fixed one day, he stopped at a local food stall. Some rather suspicious men, literal gangsters, tasted his milk and instantly realized it was completely fake. But instead of exposing him, they offered him a partnership. And that brings us to step 3, a highly dangerous chemical concoction.
These gangsters offered Mansuk a mysterious chemical powder. The promise? They guaranteed that this powder would artificially alter the milk so drastically that demand in the village would basically triple. People would literally become addicted to it. And the cost to enter this crazy, dangerous new level of fraud? A mere 1,000 rupees. Mansuk happily paid the 1,000 rupees to the gangsters, taking his business from petty fraud straight into the realm of organized crime and severe public endangerment.
When he was offered this chemical, Mansuk didn't even hesitate. His chilling justification for the whole thing was simply, who can say no to Lakshmi when she is coming? Lakshmi, of course, being the representation of wealth. He viewed this incredibly toxic, illegal partnership simply as the irresistible arrival of money. His greed completely blinded him to the catastrophic risk he was bringing into his business and, frankly, into his own home.
Section 4. Paranoia and Lost Business.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how incredibly fragile a dishonest business truly is. A visiting police officer named Manoj came back to the village on leave. The very second Mansuk found out one of his local customers was hosting a policeman, extreme paranoia kicked in. On day 1, Mansuk literally drops his milk container and spills everything onto the ground out of sheer panic when he meets Manoj. Then, For the next several days, he completely halts all of his deliveries, lying to his customers and even to his criminal suppliers, claiming that he's sick. His entire revenue stream instantly dries up in a matter of days.
Fear completely destroyed his supply chain, and the psychological toll of this greed really started rotting his operation from the inside out. When Manoj the officer visited Mansuk's home to buy milk directly, Mansuk's wife Meena, just trying to be a really good host, made the officer high-quality tea and some delicious pakoras. But instead of being thankful for her hospitality, Mansuk viciously lashed out at her. He was terrified that the pure, delicious food would somehow make the officer suspicious of the fake, terrible milk he usually sold. His stress was literally tearing his internal team, meaning his marriage, completely apart.
Section 5. The Toxic Downfall.
Eventually, the officer, Manoj, announces he's finally taking a train back to the city. Mansuk is totally overjoyed. He goes right out to the shed, thinking the coast is clear to resume his illicit business. But here comes the catastrophic internal failure. His wife, Meena, had been subjected to days of his constant yelling, his stress, and his stubborn refusal to explain what was actually going on. So, trying to be helpful and speed up his work so he wouldn't yell at her again, she saw those chemical pouches. Without knowing the extreme danger, she blindly dumped not 1, but 5 pouches of the chemical powder straight into the milk.
So it's really worth asking you, how exactly did a toxic home life ruin the product? It's a perfect cause and effect scenario. Mansuk's abusive, secretive communication with his wife directly caused the product to become instantly lethal. Think about it. If he hadn't been screaming at her, if he had just communicated properly, she never would have tried to blindly intervene to appease his temper. Ultimately, his terrible leadership destroyed his own product.
So the crucial point here is that this massive 5-pound superdose of chemical powder turned the milk into a direct, fatal poison. And as fate would have it, Manoj, the police officer's train, ended up getting canceled. Right before he was about to leave the village, his host gave him a glass of Mansuk's freshly delivered milk. Just one single sip of that fatal dose was enough to instantly make the officer severely dizzy, and he immediately realized he had been poisoned.
Section 6. Conclusion.
Now, what's really interesting here is how Manoj rapidly recovered just enough to orchestrate the sudden public arrest of Mansuk and his entire gang. The illusion of the honest, poor milkman was entirely dead, and this perfectly summarizes our core focus today. Mansuk's story proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that unchecked greed dismantles every single pillar of a sustainable operation. First, greed ruined his product quality through the starch. Then it invited massive criminal risk through the chemical powder. The intense stress of managing those lies completely destroyed his internal communication, causing him to abuse his wife. And finally, that breakdown in communication directly led to a fatal product error, ending in total loss and real prison time.
So, we want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Was the extra profit really worth a life behind bars? Mansuk had a totally stable business, incredibly loyal customers, and the genuine respect of his entire community. He traded absolutely all of it for just a few extra rupees and a shady chemical powder that ultimately destroyed his entire life. It is such a powerful reminder that the foundation of any lasting enterprise must be integrity. Because, at the end of the day, a business built on toxic greed will, inevitably, poison itself. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and we will definitely see you next time.